Napansin mo ba, mas madalas ka nang magsabi ng stay safe kesa bye-bye. At aminin mo, nawili ka sa TikTok, hindi para mapasaya ang sarili, kundi para mapatawang iba. Napansin mo rin ba, na palagi na kayong kumpleto pag nagsisimba? At sino mag-aakala na ang daming maglalabas ang internet celebrities ngayon? Ilang pagkain na bang na-order mo? Kahit di ka naman gutom, uhaw ka lang makatulong. At nakailang care emojis ka nang nasend mula ng ECQ. Pansin mo, iba na bigla ang go-to playlist mo. Alam mo rin bang mas maraming naglalabas ng pera ngayon? Kahit taghirap? Alam mo kung bakit? Kasi patuloy mang magbago ang mundo, isang bagay ang mananatili.
Malalampasan din natin to.
Hindi tayo mawawalan ng pag-asa. Kaya patuloy namin pinapanatili pinakamabilis at pinakamalawak ang inyong network. So we can all be connected by hope.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Business Mirror's Coffee Club, where we discuss the latest and hottest news items. I am your host, Ruth De La Cruz, Special Projects Editor of Business Mirror. We are live streaming through the Facebook pages of Business Mirror, Philippines Graphic, and Cook Magazine. You can also catch us on Business Mirror's YouTube channel. Last June 9, we discussed sustainable reporting, a new requirement of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Today, we will be discussing best practices in sustainability, and we have three very special guests this morning to talk about this. Our first guest is the founding president of the Philippine Alliance for Recycling and Material Sustainability, or PARMS, which brought together stakeholders and launched its Zero Waste to Nature Ambition 2030, developing a roadmap for single-use products and packaging applications. He was an expert panel member of the study on breaking the plastic wage and a technical advisory group member of the Global Review on Safer End of Engineered Life. He is also certified Verde, Green Building Professional. Here is Commissioner Crispian Lau, who is the Vice Chairman of the National Solid Waste Management Commission under the Office of the President as the private sector representative for the recycling industry. Good morning, Sir Crispian.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Ruth, for having me in this show. Happy to be here and to share some experiences with you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Our second guest held key positions in the PLDT Group, including Senior Vice President, Group Controller of PLDT Incorporated, Chief Finance Officer of Smart Communications, Chief Sustainability Officer of the PLDT Group, and Chief Finance Officer, Treasurer of the PLDT Smart Foundation. Her outstanding financial management skills earned her multiple distinctions, including CFO of the Year, Asia's CFO Excellence Awards in Singapore 2019, CFO of the Year Philippine Leadership Awards in 2019, CFO of the Year Award Excellence in Financial Planning and Analysis in Singapore 2018, CFO of the Year Excellence in Women Leadership in Malaysia 2018, and CFO of the Year Excellence Award in 2014. Here is Ms. June Cheryl Cabal Revilla, Chief Finance Officer and Chief Sustainability Officer of Metro Pacific Investments Corporation. Good morning, Ma'am Shay.
Good morning, Ms. Ruth, and good morning po, Commissioner Crispian. Glad to be here with you.
Our third guest assumed her present position last September 2020. She was formerly the business unit head of Nestlé Infant Nutrition in the country. She started her career in Nestlé as a management trainee and took on roles in sales and brand management. Her assignments have included expatriate stints in the Greater China region, which is China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, and the Nestle headquarters in Switzerland. She has also managed Nestle's health science business and was the Chief Innovation Officer for the company in the Philippines. Here is Ms. Arlene Tan Bantoto, the Head of Public Affairs, Sustainability and Communications of Nestle Philippines. Good morning, Ms. Arlene.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Good
Thank
morning to
you. And
everyone.
yes. Thank you for joining us this morning. And now may I call on Mr. Crispian Lau to give his thoughts about the topic this morning.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Yes, it's a quite interesting topic, sustainability. No? We talk a lot about sustainability, and what does really sustainability really mean for all of us from the business perspective? You look at sustainable development, and the UN World Commission on Environment and Development defines sustainable development as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So it's looking towards the future, looking towards our grandchildren and the grandchildren of our grandchildren. Why? Because resources are not finite. We need to replenish what we take, and then we have to make sure that there is enough for future generations to come. So when we look at it, we look at excessive consumption. As we have experienced excessive consumption because of population growth and a lot of other factors that has led to climate change. And climate change in the Philippine perspective would have focused on energy, agriculture, transportation, waste, industry. So these are the factors that affect climate change also. And in the country like the Philippines, it is important to look into climate change because it has affected us. Time the monsoon season comes, you have flooding, excessive rain, drought. All these becomes challenges not only for industry but also for other sectors. Agriculture sector is affected because of all of this. While the Philippines is not a major contributor of climate change globally, we recognize the importance of this, and our government has really set ambitious targets at 75%. And being cognizant of how important this is, we are now looking forward to meeting those goals, but ensuring that there are financial assistance from the global community for us to set those goals. Now, government cannot do it alone. That's why collaboration is really important. That is where private sector comes in. Private sector comes in the form of support and development of infrastructure. Um, and it is very important now for us to enable that or to provide that enabling environment for investments to continue to fill those gaps in infrastructure, whether it's energy to ensure that power is available and power cost is brought down and reasonable, and power transitions to renewable energy sources. It is important for us to look into agriculture so that we have food security. It is important for us to have transportation, efficient transportation system, especially on the public transportation, so that we have less traffic, so that it supports economic growth. Waste management is key, and that is very close to my heart where I'm coming from. We have to look into sustainable consumption and production so that there are not just enough resources for the future, but we manage the aspect of waste. And while waste is a small contributor for local climate change, greenhouse gas emissions, this is something that we can do easily as a country, but we need the support of everybody. Now, when we look at this, people talk about the three P's of people, planet, and profit, or triple bottom line, or the three E's, no, of environment, economy, and social equity. It is important to blend all of this together. It cannot be standalone now if you look at sustainability, because when you look at economy, you don't look at short-term profits. You still have to care about the environment, and it has to be fair to everyone. When you look at the environment, you don't just look at conservation without looking into the economics and the livelihood and how it affects the people at the lower end of the social class. And it all of this has to have social equity. We cannot continue to have few people with the bulk of the resources, meaning you can't have people that continue to get rich and the poor becomes poorer. So again, what this is what we often call as inclusive growth. We oftentimes look at have different definitions, but at the end of the day, I think the goals are common, and the direction has been set already for all of us. No, large corporations and conglomerates really are taking the lead. Um, they have now taken the big steps that are needed, and it is nice for us to have platforms like this to share the experiences. I'm also with PCCI in the Philippine Chamber of Commerce. We also look at the Excellence Awards, Excellence in Ecology Awards, wherein we highlight experiences and best practices that's similar to what we do. And we do this in a regular basis. Why? Because whether you are a large corporation or a small corporation or a small business, when you highlight things that you have done for the environment, for sustainability, sharing the experiences. I always say that when you talk of sustainability, these are items that is always shared and not kept. Now, there's no secret in sustainability. Why? Because we learn from each other, and we are happy when somebody takes it one level further and makes it better. And we all learn from each other, so we will continue to learn from each other. So thank you very much for having me, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Crispian. Just have a few shout outs here. To my boss, Sir Anton. Thank you for coming over. To Ivy Johnson, Bam Asarcon, April Sarabia, Catherine Blanco, Dan Borillo, Chris Jerome Sanji, to my mom who's watching, Mag Santos, Aravela, Lerlin Lafrades, and Carla Motel. Hello. So before Miss Shay speaks, I would like to show you this video first.
When you build a bridge, we've always thought of ourselves as being part of the environment. So we made our bridge a little bit longer to minimize as much as possible the impact on the mangrove ecosystem.
In 2018, construction of a mangrove propagation and information center began in Cordova. And I hope it will be successful in mangrove conservation and make an impact to the community. These mangroves also have an important fisheries function, vital to the livelihoods of fisherfolk.
Importante po na ko ang pagpangisda kay monay nakapiskwila sa ko sa akong mga bata.
Naman sila gihimo nga fisherman's bridge nga mao'y agianan sa tanang mangingisda para makapangisda lang gihapon.
So ang akong buhaton mao nga kada adlaw na ako kanunay sa dagat, mahuman na ang maong bridge, makadugang nga sa turista nga moabot din sa among isla o barangay Hilutungan.
Makatabang gapon sila kay dagang trabaho.
Mga anak na to.
The bridge is symbolic in many respects. You are connecting people, you are connecting culture, and you are connecting communities.
Sobra po, nahirapan ho sila yung paypay ho sa gabi. And then, pagdating ng umaga, labas naman doon, may papahangin lang sa labas para lang makaraos po sa araw-araw na walang kuryente.
Ang source lang ho namin ng liwanag doon, nagtatsaga lang ho kami sa mga gasera. Talaga napakahirap po, lalo sa mga bata tuwing nag-aaral.
Nung mayroon na pong kuryente, laking tulong po talaga sa amin.
pinaliliwanag po namin na ito na ho yung isang obligasyon natin. Dahil si Meralco ay tumulong sa atin, ibigay din natin yung parte natin para matulungan natin yung ginawa ni Meralco sa ating pagbibigay ng kuryente.
Nung araw na wala pang tubig na galing sa Maynila, mahirap kami rito na magkakapitbahay.
Hirap sa pampaligo, hirap sa panluto. Kung hindi ka maaga nagumising at pumunta sa puso, baka hindi ka pa makapaligo pag punta mo sa trabaho.
Yung deep well po, mayroon pong halong lumot o di kayo maiitim na ano. Kaya hanggang laba lang at paligo lang po at pag-uurong. Pero ngayon po, nagagamit na po yun namin, yung tubig Maynila. Kaya po nagpapasalamat po ako.
Okay. Ma'am Shay, can you give us your presentation and your take about your sustainability projects there at MPIC?
Yes, let me share my slide. Hold on. Miss Anne Ruth, can you see my slides already? Not yet.
Yes, ma'am. Okay na po. Yeah.
This is who we are. In case you are not familiar with who MPIC is or Metro Pacific Investments Corporation is, we actually touch everything here because we provide the basic services here in the country. No? So we own toll roads, power, water, and also own 18 of the largest hospitals here in the Philippines, no, including Makati Med, Cardinal Santos, Asian Hospital, Davao Doctors, and many more. And we just launched MWell. It's the first integrated healthcare platform here in the Philippines. We also own Metro Pac Movers, a logistics business. We were the ones who actually hosted and kept the first vaccines that were delivered here in the Philippines. To Commissioner Crispian's point earlier about having good transport, no, we also own Light Rail, LRT1. We also own the Philippine Coastal Storage in Subic. And we also own Lanco, the developers of Punta Fuego. Here, this is just really to say that sustainability is a collective responsibility. Again, to Commissioner's point earlier, it's a cohesive thing, and the triple bottom line is really interlinked with each other. And even the intersections actually have benefits and things that will promote social economic improvement for everybody. And because the topic here now is best practices for sustainability, now we would also like to share our roadmap and the fundamentals in having the best practice of sustainability. One is governance. Really, the tone from the top and the leadership's agenda on sustainability is very key. Number two, reporting and disclosure, because you have to share what you do, right? And I think in 2019, the Philippine SEC has actually required all Philippine-listed companies to do this. And part of the requirement is to be able to map our impact to the UN SDGs. The third is to be able to translate all those plans and embed them into the company's or organization strategy and performance measurement and indicators. And the fourth, which is important, is actually stakeholder engagement, because we cannot do this alone. It has to be done by everyone. Again, sustainability is a collective responsibility. This is our framework. This slide just shows you everything that you need to know about MPIC's sustainability program. It tells you about why we are doing this, which is to contribute to national progress and improve the quality of life of Filipinos, which is our purpose, right? Who we are doing this for, all our stakeholders, our customers, our own employees, our communities, the communities that we serve, our shareholders, investors, our vendors, suppliers, partners, government, and regulators. And what are our imperatives? We would like to transform, perform, grow across all the ESG segments, and that's what we are putting in front of the leadership agenda of MPIC. And how do we achieve all these imperatives, right? And we do this through our sustainability pillars and our focus areas of progress, planet, and people, and our sustainability-linked advocacies, which is down there, yung the gabay advocacies of MVP. And what is our impact? At the end of the day, sustainability is about impact for all. And we've mapped our impact according to the UN SDGs. The first two actually, fundamentals would be governance and reporting and disclosure. In MPIC, this is already part of our board committee, sustainability. Me as CSO and CFO, I report to the sustainability committee, every regularly, and then we talk about our metrics and our updates for the things that we do for sustainability. And the thing that we are so very proud of in MPIC is that we actually are adhering to global standards. A lot of companies adhere to GRI, but we've also signed up for SASB. As a matter of fact, we were admitted as the first conglomerate ever globally to be an alliance of the SASB. And we have started doing disclosures according to the SASB's industry standards since 2020, or SR. And then we have also signed up as a TCFD supporter, one of the pioneers here in the Philippines, actually. And because most investors look for these two frameworks, SASB and TCFD. And we've also committed to the UNGC principles as a participant on a global engagement level. For CDP, because we really care about climate action and climate change, curbing global warming. We've also signed up, and actually, I think we're the first, and I don't know if we're still the only CDP supporter here in the Philippines. And we have also been part of the Accounting for Sustainability organization that was organized by the Prince of Wales in 2004. We are the first from Asia in the Philippines to sign a statement of support for their net zero campaign. And we have been appointed as a founder member in the Asia A4S network. This is what I was describing about, really mapping our sustainability pillars and our sustainability linked advocacies into the UN SDGs to measure our impact. And we also did the same thing, measuring everything and mapping everything according to the National Development Goals. Here, this is the third fundamental, which is really to embed sustainability into our strategy and performance indicators. That is what we have done for MPIC. We have actually built a culture of embracing sustainability across everything that we do, and we have tried to operationalize it also. As CFO and CSO, that was the challenge, to put numbers into it, because the traditional mindset is that, you don't do anything unless it affects the bottom line. But at the end of the day, sustainability does affect everything. And I'll share the next slide there. And here, from a strategy perspective, we've mapped out all our imperatives and the capitals that we need to protect, because either this has been entrusted to us by our shareholders, investors, or the bankers, from the funding, and all the capitals also that we have earned across over the years. This is what I was describing earlier when we try to operationalize sustainability by trying to also map sustainability from an operational impact and financial impact standpoint. And because if the employees and the organization sees this, they will actually be able to relate to it and not just look at sustainability as just a byword. The fourth fundamental is on stakeholder engagement. And what we've done for the MPIC group was to map our materiality topics and assessment across all that's important to our group. And we actually included all the alphabet soup of the standards that the investors look for, and that's on the right side of the slide. Here, part of the stakeholder engagement is to really improve the capacity and the awareness, and how people in the organization across our group look at sustainability. And we've held our group sustainability summit, and we had global speakers from SASB, from Ernst & Young, from MSCI. And we also had a panel discussion with Dowbridge Capital and China Light and Power. And we also had speakers from S&P Global and one of our big block investors from the UK, M&G Investments. And Yayu was there. She's the chairperson of the UNGC Network Philippines. This was what I was describing earlier on a sustainability-linked advocacies, because gone are the days that we just do plain CSR, right? We have to be able to measure and assess the impact of the things that we do. And we have 6 advocacies: environment, education, youth and leadership, health and sports, livelihood, and community development. Again, to the point of Commissioner Crispian earlier, this is about a holistic approach of being able to help out in our country and globally. This is also the thrust of MPIC, to do well while doing good, right? And then marrying profit and purpose. These are just the advocacies that we have on livelihood. We do many things across the group, and then on education as well, and youth and leadership, the future of our country, health and sports, and then community work, and then this one on the environment. I would like to zero in on this because I think the discussion today will be focused on climate action, no? And why do we have to care about climate action? To Commissioner Crispian's point earlier, this is something that we need to really address because it will affect us all. If we think that COVID-19 was the worst thing that ever happened to us, it's not. It'll be climate change. Why? Because with COVID-19, we have a chance of survival by locking down or vaccinations or wearing facial shields or masks, right? But when climate change happens, we have PM 2.5 pollution, Category 5 storms, global warming induced earthquakes or volcanic eruptions, right? We have nowhere to hide and we are all vulnerable. And so from the World Economic Forum, they actually say that nature is the foundation of economic growth, which is true. Everything that we need is actually given by nature: the food that we eat, the water that we drink, the air that we breathe, right? So it is a responsibility as leaders to protect and restore and manage the only planet that we have. There's no other planet, right? This is our only home. And at the end of the day, I always say that sustainability is something that I take personally because as a parent, diba, you don't want to leave our children with a world that is worse off than what it is now. And another context is that from the Global Climate Risk Index, the Philippines, next to Japan, is the country that's most affected by climate change. Diba, we get Category 5 storms, 3 to 5 times a year. That's more than any other country globally has, next to Japan. So many investors actually shy away from the Philippines because of that, or they give us a negative minus whatever when they do their analysis of where to invest in emerging countries, right? But we always say in our investor roadshow that despite that risk, the Philippines is actually blessed with the natural resources that can fight global warming. And that's where our responsibility as Filipinos come in. And this is why in MPIC, we do all these things to protect our environment because it's all interrelated. From an environmental stewardship perspective, we've actually embedded that into our business, in all our decisions. So we design, build, and operate in the least environmental and social disruption. This is what you saw in the first video where we built the bridge, right, from Cebu to Cordova. We would have, from the original design, we could have actually put the bridge on a straight line. That would have been cheaper for us. But from a sustainability standpoint, we actually decided to spend $1 billion more to veer away from the mangroves because that $1 billion will amount to nothing compared to the devastations if we distract or destroy the mangroves. And so we did that. And from all our other businesses, we also tried to recycle and upcycle materials for our business use. If the MECQ is already taken out, you guys, we invite you to go to Crusoe in Calatagan. We actually use container vans as the parang hotel rooms, no? And that circle over there on the middle, that's not a video light or LED light. That's actually a cocoon. We also converted the concrete pipes of Maynilad to yung mga excess to a room that can accommodate people. Next, we actually invest in environmental programs. We have this program called Shore It Up. We have actually protected 5,300 hectares of mangroves nationwide, and we continue to do so. In the things that we do, like for example, for NLEX, we continue to green our toll roads. In LRT, we put vertical gardens into our pillars. We also try to protect nature through collaboration. No? I think last Monday we just signed a memorandum of cooperation with the LLDA and the DNR to protect Laguna Lake as a major water resource here for Metro Manila and the 77 tributaries, no, which covers those nearby provinces and cities and municipalities. And we've also partnered with certain companies like Huawei and Rainforest Connection, which is a startup company based in San Francisco. That guy over there in the tree is Topher White. He did all this IoT. It's a bioacoustic technology that captures events of illegal logging, which notifies the mga barangay tanod, the AFP, etc. So I think we have been able to apprehend 7 attempts. So, kasi di ba, we want to plant trees, but at the end of the day, it's also important for us to be able to protect the existing forests and existing trees that we have. And then lastly, we actually have also aligned ourselves with the United Nations Decade of Ecosystem Restoration, which is really, really key, right? So MPIC has committed to restoring all sorts of ecosystems and biodiversities. And on the right side, MPIC was chosen to be the official private sector partner in the Philippines. And I think the other week, we were part of the ASEAN region-wide greening initiative launch, and we were the only private sector there, along with the government representatives, to speak and share about our environmental initiatives. These are the other things that we have been doing across the group. We've put a solar plant already in Bulacan for Meralco, and we do the same thing also for Maynilad to power our water treatment plants. And we have been cited by the World Bank as the utility of the future. And on the right side, that's actually MPTC, our toll roads group, where their building is also powered by solar. That ends my slides.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Shay. Now, can I call on Ms. Arlene to say something about sustainability and your projects there at Nestlé Philippines?
Good morning. Thank you, Che, for your very inspiring presentation. We will take up your invitation to when the pandemic is over. Kami ni Crispian pupunta. All right. So I'll share my slide now. Kip. All right. So thank you again for this invitation. It's a privilege to be sharing with you our views about the urgency of tackling climate change, pioneering sustainability practices, and our initiatives, especially towards net zero greenhouse gas emissions. So amid the pandemic, we are called upon to reflect and act on our collective impact on the environment, and in particular, the planet's climate. As we all know, climate change is one of the greatest threats to life on Earth, with alarming and long-term effects. These include increasing temperatures, heat waves, and heavy precipitation, as well as melting ice and permanent frost, resulting in rising sea levels. We are already experiencing these effects today. For us at Nestlé, sustainability is making sure we meet the needs of the present without compromising future needs. We have utmost respect for the world's future and generations who follow us, and this compels us to act with responsibility and courage, even when it is difficult and it costs money. For our part, and as Kasambuhay for the environment, we are deeply committed to attaining our environmental goals, consistent with the Nestlé global ambition of achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2050 at the latest, cutting our emissions in half by 2030. Since making our commitment, we have been working on a time-bound action plan across our value chain, including setting interim targets consistent with the Paris Agreement, which aims to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Achieving this will require radical action across the value chain, and we cannot do it alone. Reducing emissions and reaching net zero requires collaborative approaches with suppliers, customers, academics, policymakers, and civil society at large. So let me share with you some quick facts about Nestle. This is our 110th year in the Philippines, and we have 4 manufacturing facilities, 6 distribution centers, and 1 BPO in Bulacan. And the BPO services almost 40% of Nestle markets worldwide. We directly and indirectly employ over 50,000 people and serve over 25 billion fortified products to Filipino consumers annually. We are driven by our purpose as a company to unlock the power of food and beverages to enhance the quality of life for everyone today and generation to come. We have 3 major pillars by which we create shared values. First is individuals and families. So we strive to make children live healthier lives through our expertise in nutrition, health, and wellness. For communities, we strive to improve the livelihood of coffee farmers and communities that intersect with our business. And finally, for the planet, we strive to ensure zero impact on the environment. Building a decade of hard work, we have already demonstrated that we have the size and the scale to help tackle climate change. We are engaged in 3 areas of effort: transforming our operations, sourcing responsibly, and shaping a waste-free future. So let me start with transforming our operations. We have reduced greenhouse gas emissions in our factories by 40% since 2020. So this is equivalent to around 23,000 cars in 1 year. We have also reduced water usage by 24%, which is equivalent to 350 swimming pools, and energy usage by 38%, equivalent to 44.8 million liters. We have also switched to clean energy. In fact, all our factories in Luzon and our Makati admin office run on 100% renewable electricity. We only have 1 more factory to go in Cagayan de Oro, and we hope that the line will be available there so we can switch to renewable energy. But our work does not stop here. We recognize that food systems tap into the resources of the environment. To unlock and enhance quality of life, we have to make sure that we meet the needs of the present without compromising future needs, and hence sourcing responsibly. So as the biggest buyer of coffee produce in the country, the Robusta variety, which is the only ingredient in our Nescafe, we prefer to source our raw materials locally. By doing so, we support our farmers while we promote the planting of more crops which absorb greenhouse gas emissions and reduce carbon in the atmosphere. We continue to work with our farmers on actively managing and restoring soils and improving biodiversity. Through our Nescafe plan, Robusta coffee farmers in Mindanao are learning regenerative agriculture and sustainable coffee production. So regenerative agriculture is a farming system that aims to conserve and restore farmland and its ecosystem. We don't only source coffee, but we also source our sugar locally. We work with small-scale sugarcane growers, millers, and industry stakeholders in Negros Occidental to address areas of sustainability and needs within the small planter supply base. In collaboration with DENR, MWSS, and WWF, we planted 65,000 tree seedlings in 150 hectares in the Ipo watershed from 2016 to 2019. This program continues to help reforest the denuded portions of Ipo Dam towards ensuring sustainability of Metro Manila's water supply. We are looking to plant many more thousands of trees in the near future, so watch out for that. Finally, shaping a waste-free future. Last year in August, we achieved our most important environmental milestone so far by becoming the country's first multinational FMCG company to attain plastic neutrality. In fact, this month is our 1st year anniversary. This means that we are collecting co-processing, and therefore diverting from nature the equivalent amount of plastic that we put out in the market. This month marks our first year anniversary, as I said, and I'm happy to report that we have collected and diverted from the environment 27 million kilos of plastic waste. So to give you an idea, it's around 2,700 dump trucks that we collected so that it does not end in landfills and eventually in the ocean. So we are very proud of this milestone and we hope that other companies can also follow suit. Right, Crispian? So that's our motivation for Crispian and in Farms. In tackling the plastic waste challenge in the Philippines, we are also continuously innovating and developing technology to achieve our commitment to make our packaging recyclable or reusable by 2025. Today, we try to do as much as we can, and 24/7, all our R&Ds all over the world are looking at paperization. But today, what I'm very happy to share with you is we are also the first FMCG to shift from plastic straws to paper straws. And this helped us divert 600 million plastic straws from ending again in landfills and in the ocean. And if you look at the Milo pack on the screen, so our Milos, our Maggi Magic Sarap, our Nescafe 3-in-1s used to be in poly bags. And as you know, the poly bags, they're not biodegradable. They also end up in landfills and oceans. So we took the initiative to convert it into paper bags. Again, this is not a very easy action. You might think it's common sense, but actually, initially we also had some pushbacks from stores, from merchandisers, because you need extra tender loving care in handling these products, right? So I think when we talk about doing new initiatives, innovations on how to move away from plastic, it also requires mindset. And I go to the next slide. And this is all about creating awareness and starting with the kids. Diba? You know, our kids now, like I have a 14-year-old, he tells me what I'm doing well, what I'm not doing well when it comes to the environment. So we're very proud that we are helping and educating consumers about solid waste management. And this is in cooperation with Crispian's team. So we're very proud to work with DepEd. And we came out with modules for schools to guide not only students, but also parents and teens. You can already download these modules. So we are accelerating our efforts to address climate change in the country. And I would like to share this video about our recent commitments. So our local initiatives contribute to the achievement of our global commitments. At the same time, we are proud to be able to support the country's NDC, or nationally determined contribution, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 75% as of 2030 under the Paris Agreement. So we can't do this alone. In fact, we've been working with academe researchers and other companies, especially Crispian, to really find solutions. It's not easy. This is such a tall order, but we know that with scale and size, we have the responsibility. So I've shared a glimpse of our efforts in Nestlé Philippines as Kasambuhay for the environment, but we are only one company and getting there requires a whole of society approach. Maybe we can ask ourselves, are we ready to adopt new ways of thinking, to make the investments required of us, to face hard decisions and change on how we do businesses, to embrace new technologies and to work and help one another. We need to create shared value as we pursue sustainability to do good not only for ourselves, not only for our business, but for the society as a whole. So thank you very much, and really looking forward to learning more from Crispian and also from Che.
Thank you so much, Miss Arlene. Before we do our discussion, just a few more shout outs to Ayang Villar, Kai Garcia, Melody M. Del Rosario, JC Sebastian, Carlo Abalos, Eternal Gardens Memorial Park Corporation in Bicol, Grace Rogero, Alvin Tolosa, Ma'am Chuchay Fernandez, hello ma'am, and Heidi Dimawala. Okay. My first question will go to Sir Crispian. Can you give us an update, sir, about the project you initiated, the Ambition 2030, Zero Waste to Nature? Can you give us an update about that?
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, for giving me this opportunity to elaborate on the zero waste to nature. I will shift my hat now from government to private sector.
Yes.
Having led the Philippine Alliance for Recycling, and happy to have 11 of the big FMCG companies with us. And as Arlene mentioned, no, the basic objective of our Zero Waste to Nature Ambition 2030 campaign is really to address the issue of packaging waste. We want to start with plastics, but will not end there. Waste is waste. Plastic comprise of 5% of our total waste. It is the most visible, and we are addressing this issue first, given that we had been identified as the third largest contributor to ocean plastics. To the and now we are already number one for river. I do not agree with the methodology of having us ranked that way, but it is important that solid waste management is addressed in the country. I'm very happy to have Nestle as one of our partners. Our 2030 ambition, they did it last year, so I'm very happy. So this proves that it can be done. And what we do under Farms is to collaborate. Not only do we start redesigning our products for more circularity, for more recycling, okay, but the waste that is there, whatever we cannot change right now, given the economic conditions of the countries on sachets, tingi culture, small quantities, we are addressing it in the short term by addressing the waste that's out there and sending it where it's supposed to go. No, it's not supposed to be in an open environment. We have a roadmap designed already, and it's very near completion. We have a trajectory of how where we want to go and how we want to do it. And again, the objective really is that there will be no plastic in the open environment by 2030, and that is a serious goal. That is a commitment that we have made, and a commitment that we will see through. Yes, we will accelerate efforts. Some people are asking why didn't we do it earlier. Some people are asking why don't you align it with the NEDA's 2040 roadmap. We said that okay, 2030 is the most realistic that we can do, but it doesn't stop us from accelerating efforts and doing it in 5 to 7 years from now.
Thank you, Sir Crispian. Ma'am Shay, with so many projects, sustainability projects at MPIC, how are you able to manage all of them?
We actually have an MPIC Group Sustainability Council, no. So all the companies are represented there, and that's the venue where we share best practices and learn from each other and try to align. For example, if say Maynilad is doing something good, then everybody follows, because the journey is different for each company, and there are certain things that some companies actually do or initiate, no, and then all these things that we learn from, then we adopt as a group.
Okay. Miss Arlene, how long did it take for Nestle to come up with the new packaging for your other items, especially the paper straw? Because it's really, there are some challenges when you use the paper straw compared to the plastic straws. So how long did it take for you to develop that?
So thank you for your question, and Ruth. Actually, medyo matagal, no? It's been several years because while we want, of course, we want to protect the environment, but we also have to make sure that we provide quality products, which include the packaging to our consumers. And as you know, for example, for Chucky, the kids when they drink their Chucky, they like to bite it.
Yeah.
No, nginangat-ngat nila. So you can imagine for a paper straw, cannot
Yeah.
survive compared to plastic. And
Mhm.
that's why it also requires education to moms, right? Because the knee-jerk reaction is to complain. Bakit naging ganyan yung straw nyo? But when they understand that this is also for their kids' future, then they can also tell their kids, oh, don't bite it and drink it faster. So it took some time because we have to look for the right supplier. And in fact, I have to share with you that the cost is 4 times more a plastic straw. But we didn't increase price because we said at least we have to start doing something. So it's not just securing the supplier, but also doing kitchen quality tests, making sure they survive out there from handling from the factory all the way to the consumer. So I would say 2 to 3 years, but finally it's out there. So hope you try the product and let us know.
Okay, we will. Thank you, Miss Arlene. Well, all three of you were saying that this is a group effort. Everyone has to be involved in sustainability. Can you tell our audience what they can do in their personal roles so that they can contribute to sustainability? Sir Crispian, what can you share with our audience?
But I think the consumers or the general public is really key for us to achieve sustainability. No matter what the government does, no matter what industries do, it will never be enough unless you get the participation of the people. So number one yung people it's really key. Yes, the people can make, well, the power of choice is with the people. In consumerism, you decide on what you will purchase. So the idea right now is that having a knowledge of what companies are doing, you have to choose now and buy from responsible services, responsible companies. Meaning you buy from a company that has sustainability programs. You get services from companies that do the same. I think if we can enrich this, then we really would be able to transition towards a sustainable future for our next generation.
Okay. Ma'am Shay, what's your take on this? What advice can you give to our audience?
Sustainability starts with you, with all of us. Every single thing that we do good for the environment translates to all, because the air that we breathe here, for example, if you start polluting, or it travels everywhere, right? It's a global thing. And at the end of the day, you start with small practices that actually will get emulated by our children. Like me, I have a 5-year-old, right? Before, when she brushes her teeth, she just let the water flow. Oh my gosh, sayang ang tubig ng Maynilad. So I always tell her, put a cap, anak, because you have to conserve water. There's not much water in the world, etc. And so it stuck with her that when my husband was brushing his teeth and was letting the water flow, sabi niya, Dad, that's wrong. You have to protect Mother Earth. So those are the small things that we can actually impart in our children. And the other thing is, as parents, I think I mentioned this earlier, we have to have a sense of urgency, right? Because it's like a person getting with cancer, diagnosed with cancer. That person will not say, okay, I have the next 10 years to change my habits, right? You have to make an absolute change in the same way that we need to do absolute contraction for our carbon emissions, because circular yan eh. When you look at the carbon that we put out there, it also lessens the ability of our carbon sinks to work, the trees, the ocean, etc. So all the more, twice and thrice and 4 times as much, mag-accelerate yung global warming. If you have seen the IPCC report, originally kasi the Paris Agreement says in 2015 that we have to be net zero by 2050. With the thing that's happening right now, 'di ba? Yung China, Germany na flooding, all these unabated fires. We can't wait until 2050. By that time, too late na. So, everybody has to make a decision. 'Di ba? Because to Arlene's point earlier, there's no planet B. Again, what kind of parents will we be, 'di ba, if you don't do something now? Kasi sasabihin ng mga anak natin, anong klaseng mga magulang kayo? Kasi we go to work right now, 'di ba, trying to provide education and food and clothing for our children. But the basic thing, the environment, 'di ba, that makes them thrive or survive. If we don't give that to them, then wala yung education, wala yung bahay. Kasi ang bahay masisira ng bagyo. So everything has to be taken into that kind of perspective, holistic perspective, and a sense of urgency.
Miss Arlene, what's your take here?
So I'll give very concrete examples of what the viewers can do, and I hope you spread the word. So number one is, of course, find out how can you start being earth friendly, because it's like starting a workout, no? Okay, tomorrow I want to start losing weight. Di ka naman pwedeng you just do a crash diet, right? You have to do it in a very proven, tried and tested way. So find out how can you start segregating at home. That's the first one. Kasi I just learned 2 weeks ago when I made the talk for Global Youth Summit. Ang pizza box pala is not biodegradable because it already has oil in it. I'm sure many people don't know that, right? So number one is really learn how to segregate. Clean your sachets and put it in a dry bin. You can sacrifice when the GCQ is already announced. You can go to selected SM malls and drop your big plastic of sachets from your chips, your coffee, whatever na malinis na and dry, and give it to drop it in the collection centers. I think maraming collection centers all over Metro Manila and also some parts of the Philippines. In fact, Nestlé, we're working with Rappler now to crowdsource all the pickup points. Kasi sometimes you don't know, meron lang pala sa barangay ninyo, right? Next is upsize. Instead of buying tingi-tingi, if you can afford it, upsize. You'll use less plastic. And number 3, also try to start journaling. What have you been buying na hindi naman talaga kailangan, 'di ba? Kasi sometimes, of course, everything's very commercialized. You want to buy something new, pero meron ka naman, 'di ba? So, try to reflect, do you really need that thing before you buy it online, right? And finally, so you, of course, buy from responsible companies. Kasi the minute you buy from responsible companies, you send that message that we also want to support you. We love what you're doing, and it gives a signal to other companies who are not yet ready to do it. So those are my very clear tips. So I hope you learned something from it. And finally pala, ito yung favorite ko. Because everyone's doing online takeout, right? Please tell your restaurants you don't need chopstick, spoon, and fork because you have at home. Diba? So little things like that. Another plastic spoon out in the ocean is something we don't need. So I hope that helps.
Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Arlene. I have a question here from Miss Psyche Rojas Mendoza. She's our editor-in-chief of Philippines Graphic. Do you have plans regarding employee sustainability in the face of the pandemic? Blue-collar workers have been cited as one of the sectors that suffered the most in this pandemic. I think you can answer this, Ma'am Shay.
Us kasi, we actually encourage work from home na, di ba? So from us, from MPIC, we also translated some of our benefits to include connectivity because that's important. And then during that, kasi basic service kami, di ba? So hindi pwedeng lahat mag-work from home, kailangan pumasok. So we made it a point na in the group, we actually had everybody vaccinated. I think we were the first group to do that, and which is also a blessing kasi di ba we own the hospital group enabling all this vaccination. So our employees have been vaccinated, including the dependent, di ba, in the families. Kasama yun sa sa advocacy, and making sure that the work area, workplace is actually good also, and healthy for the people. I think we also did some mga transportation arrangements so where our staff are not also exposed to public transport. So we also did all those things.
Okay, Miss Arlene, how's this? How about there in Nestle Philippines?
So same, no, as Metro Pacific. So of course yung bakuna, very important, but we don't mandate it. But encourage and do a lot of talks with doctors who can share the benefits of vaccination. Number two is really making sure that everyone is protected, whether they are in the factories, in the headquarters, so we have a skeletal force, or at home. Not only physically but mentally. I'm sure you know that mental wellness is already one of the biggest challenges that we have today. And it's not true that it's a millennial issue. This is an issue for everyone because the pandemic has been more than 600 days na, diba? So we are doing a lot of talks. We have a call center if you need to talk to someone, which is fully confidential. And in so literal word of sustainability, we have started an Isa Buhay sa Bahay program wherein we got 21 of our employee influencers to start a 21-day journey on how to segregate at home. And we are putting out those videos to also help our employees to pick up this habit. Those are just some of the things that we are doing to help support our employees during this very difficult and extraordinary time.
Thank you. Sir Crispian, you have
Yeah,
something to share? Mhm.
yeah, I'll shift my hat again as private sector. Be running a small business. No, we run a small family business. Again, while I'm government, I'm still private sector. The biggest challenge really is on the MSMEs, no? Because these are the ones that are severely affected. These are the companies like ours may not have that financial resources to be able to keep our employees hired or funded during this pandemic. I know it's difficult for big companies also, but it's more difficult for small businesses. What we do is that we try to make our people understand the value of what they need to do during the pandemic. It includes tightening the belts. The small businesses, as much as possible, try very hard to keep their people employed. Now, we may not give you the 5 days a week, but we will still try to give you 3 to 4 days a week. At least there's work. So it's a challenge. It's really a challenge. But again, we really look into our workforce, our employees, hoping that we don't close down. Again, that the biggest challenge really is keeping afloat through this time. We need each other's help. And hopefully, when all of this is over, we'd be able to recover the losses. It's really a big chunk of losses, especially for the small businesses.
Okay, thank you, Sir Crispian. I have another question here from Maricel Davad. How has the pandemic impacted your sustainability efforts, Miss Arlene, there at Nestle?
Um, no, it has not changed our goals, our commitments, and my targets. In fact, the target is still there, as strong as ever. And we are really working with many different groups because we can't do it alone as Nestle. No, even if we have the size and the size of our company in the Philippines and globally. So we are working full time to make sure that we hit our targets, if not sooner. We are doing brainstorming, we are innovating. I like joining these kinds of talks because I can network. I was just sending a message to Che if we could discuss more. Baka we can, we can vault in because honestly, this pandemic, I mean, this problem of climate change is not a competition. It's not a competition among companies, no. In fact, if somebody can lead the way faster, pioneer, we are more than happy to follow, diba? This is really at the time when industry should work together with private citizens and also with government to make things happen. So the answer is no, it has not stopped. In fact, my boss is still very much adamant that we hit our targets and we hit it on time, if not earlier.
Thank you. Ma'am Shea, how has the pandemic impacted your sustainability efforts?
Same with Arlene. I was just going to message her back. Same with Arlene. It actually pushed us to even work harder and gave us again the sense of urgency, because as I said, COVID is not going to be the worst thing that will ever happen to the world. It's really climate change, and the time to do it is now. So all the more, we've actually doubled our effort.
Okay. Sir Crispian, how about in your efforts?
Well, again, it can't stop. No, in fact, it actually in a way good because it gave us more time to focus. No, because you don't go out really for meetings, but you can have focus. Again, as I mentioned, we are very near. We're nearing the completion of the Zero Waste to Nature campaign. The next challenge really is to roll it out. And we have proven that we it's doable. And I think yes, we have not backed down, but we are moving forward, and we have not changed our target. Our target is still 2030. That has not changed. It's nice that I have a colleague who has been with me from the very start when we conceptualize farms. Nestle has proven that it can be done, and it can be done even earlier than scheduled, and I'm very happy about that.
Miss Anne Ruth, can I just also say something to
Sure, go
si
ahead.
Crispin? We
Go
should
ahead,
work
ma'am.
together and push for the waste to energy project that we're doing. It has been stalled no for many years, and the John G. Madera was watching now from our group that was saying that you guys are working together, and I said yes. We talked earlier on, and we should push for that already because the landfills also that we have here in the Philippines not helping at all. The landfills actually emit methane that is worse than carbon. So I think awareness and knowing the levers for global warming is really key to curbing it.
Okay. I have a question here from Ma'am Shay. Can you expound on what you said about doing good being sustainable? This is
Well,
from Ed.
hello, Mr. Ed. Sana next mo na lang ako. Diyan ka pa nagtanong. So, when you say doing kasi, di ba, doing, when you say you're doing well from a profit perspective, share price, etc., but you can actually do good at the same time. That was what we meant. And um, earning profits, you can actually do with coupling that with purpose and achieving your purpose. Because at the end of the day, when you do well, people look at it and you don't even have to advertise yourself. It comes naturally. And to Commissioner Crispian's point and Arlene's point earlier, di ba? The consumers now, especially millennials like us, we know we're aware and they care about things that matter and those that affect them. Diba? From surveys, I'm not sure if you've actually heard about it. Millennials actually want to be affiliated with companies who care about climate change, environmental issues, and social impact. And so they're even willing to get a pay cut for it, 'di ba? Because ano na sila, meron na silang sense of um, tawag dito, responsibility. Mabuti naman that yung next generation natin may ganun na. So all the more. Second, they also are willing to pay more for products and services that care about all these things that matter. So, doon pa lang, when you do good, makakat mo nga yung advertising and promotion mo because you don't have to put yourself out there. People will actually gravitate to you because they believe in what you do and in your products and in your services.
Ma'am Arlene, can you tell us more about your recent achievement about the plastics? What did you do with all the plastics that you gathered?
Okay, so we worked with LGUs, mga local waste pickers, and also cement kilns. And we collected, as I said, 27 million kilos of plastic waste. No? So these plastic waste are sent to cement kilns and used and they are co-processed. So instead of using fossil fuels such as coal, they use the plastic to co-process it as part of the process to make cement. And what's nice about this is not only did it emit less carbon versus fossil fuel, even yung natirang plastic, no, they're all part of the cement bricks. So walang sayang in the entire process. For Nestle, this is a stopgap solution until somebody invents paperization. for our food products, because today plastic has been proven to be the most, at least the plastic that we use has been proven to be the safest way to deliver quality products to our consumers who can't afford it in bottles and etc. and other medium, no. So this is the process that we use. So we call it co-processing.
Okay, and then these cement you'll be selling it to the construction
No,
industry.
so we partner with cement kilns such as
Okay.
Republic Cement. They
Okay.
also help us pick up the plastic, and we're audited also.
Mm-hmm.
And they use this as a waste to energy.
Okay.
Until lahat all parts of the plastic is are used until they have the cement powder and the cement mix used for construction. So that's totally out of our, that's another business already. It's not a Nestle business.
I see. Okay. Ma'am Shay, with so many sustainability projects at MPIC, what is your favorite?
Marami eh. Pero yung now, given nga the sense of urgency, it's really about climate change and the environmental programs that we do. I think from a sustainability standpoint, people think in some of the old traditional mindsets, 'di ba, yung mga ano na ay mahal 'yan. Like to Arlene's point earlier, 'di ba? Transitioning from plastic to paper is 4 times more expensive. But my dears, the investment is worth it. Kasi when you talk about sustainability, it's really about future-proofing our businesses and our existence as humanity, di ba? Nagtipid ka nga ng 4 times ngayon, nag-earthquake naman ng whatever in 5-10 years, di wala din, di ba? Which destroyed your plants or whatever. So, the investments and the sacrifices that we do now will really translate to something that will be good, and we, hopefully, while we're still here, and our children will be able to benefit from and thrive in.
Okay. If I recall, recently I think it was the House of Representatives just passed the first reading about the single-use plastic. If I remember, Sir Crispian, what's your ano here?
Yeah, let me talk as farms and as private sector, not
Yes.
as government for this one. Again, the bigger challenge really is that it identifies the products that will be taken out, the plastic products that will be taken out, and it gives a 4-year period for us to look for the substitutes. No, the bigger question really is that is 4 years enough for us to look for viable substitutes? Are we shifting everything out of plastics and
Mhm.
shifting it into another material? No? If we shift it to another material, what do we do with that other material that we shift to? Right? I think there are things that are doable, like because the Tetra Pak that Nestle places its milk is basically paper, so putting a paper straw makes a lot of sense simply because you recycle it together. But then if we are to substitute many of these products that will end up in landfills that we don't have, it will be leaked out in the ocean. And the biggest concern of industry is that it will definitely cost more to the consumers because not everybody would be able to absorb the cost. And more importantly, it might add burden to an infrastructure that is lacking. She mentioned the importance of infrastructure like waste to energy to address the waste. Residual plastic is only 4% of that universe that you are throwing away. So you still have a lot to deal with, and that is where technology, environmentally sound technology, should come in to address this problem. So yes, while it is important for us to look at this holistically and to be guided by the science and technology, really, to be able to be successful. Banning regulations is one way to achieve it, but I think consumer participation and recognition education is critical. Otherwise, may biruan minsan, the laws are just suggestions, di ba? So, what's important is really for the people to make good decisions in the choices that they make.
Any views about the single-use plastic, Miss Arlene?
So for Nestle, what we support will be the EPR. So EPR is the extended producer's responsibility because the
Okay.
EPR makes it really a circular economy wherein you have the buyers and the sellers. You have like a marketplace, right? Where
Mhm.
somebody buys the plastic and then the money, the profit you is they're used to invest in recycling plants. Today in the Philippines, and Crispian, please correct me if I give the wrong number, but around 10 to 11% of plastics are only recycled because we don't have enough recycling plants, right? So then we really lack the whole circular economy, which our countries in Europe already have. And without that, we don't really solve the problem, right? So of course we want to move into paperization. This is what our R&D, our research and development teams all over the world are working on. But today, we really feel strongly in supporting an EPR system in the Philippines. And we can start small. We don't have to do an EPR for everything, right? We can start with sachets first. Um, and there are already some bills in the works, right? Like from Senator Villar and Congressman Rodriguez. So we hope that it will gain traction. Because if you say we will remove plastic today, then the question is, what food can we deliver to the masses, right? To the bulk of the Philippine population. And we're talking more than 85% who can't afford bottles or bigger packs. So we have to balance giving nutritious products, quality products to our consumers, and at the same time helping the environment. And hence, instead of just looking at the SUP, the single-use plastic, we would like to discuss the EPR, which is already working in many countries globally.
Okay. Will that be a challenge to implement here in the Philippines, EPR?
Crispian can answer that question.
Well, okay, again, we cannot, okay, we have looked into the global formats of EPR systems, and we have seen that the global EPR systems may not necessarily work in a country like the Philippines.
Yes.
So we have collaboratively worked on an EPR system that we believe will work and is inclusive. The EPR concept that we are looking at is for companies like Nestle to set targets. No? My 27,000 tons is a target. Then how do you recover those materials? Now we need to tap existing social enterprises, LGUs, without dislodging the informal system that is now working on the ground, but on the
Yeah.
other hand, enhancing their income potential by giving them more opportunities to earn. So meaning that they will pick up recyclables. Now they will include sachets, soft plastics, right? And we are giving the avenues also for a responsible citizen like you and me to bring, your clean, wash, dry sachets to drop-off points like SM so that it can be properly treated in the meantime. Again, avoidance is, and then on the concept of the EPR system, what we want it is to set realistic targets. Again, when you say you set the target for diversion, unless MPIC puts up that facility by next year, it's going to be a continuing challenge for everybody. Again, because the next question is that if everybody does it, do we have enough infrastructure to absorb all of this? So the recycling and treatment infrastructure needs to be built. Yes, there are studies that say it's 9%, 11%. Some studies show it's 25%. But at the end of the day, we need to build infrastructure. And Shay knows very well that for infrastructure, it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
It's about 3 to 5 years down the line for us to put up that infrastructure to get it operational. So again, we have the cement co-processing facilities to do it for us for now under the APR system. And as technology comes in, then it will fit. So again, we are transitioning to a 10-year period. And that's how we see these things to be realistic. We need support in putting up that infrastructure. That is key. We need that support. Otherwise, without that support and support from all sectors, it's going to be very difficult for us to put it up.
I actually agree.
Go ahead.
We
Yes.
have this program already that has been there for 4 years, di ba? But obviously, we need approvals from government and, alam nyo na. So, everybody has to play a role. And as naman kasi in MPIC, we just don't stop because there's a wall. What we did was to reorganize ourselves and look at the B2B component. So for example, we for our biogas plants, we worked with Dole Philippines in Colomolok, di ba? So we have biogas plants now and we're doing it per entity kasi mahirap to do the other countries kasi do a waste to energy plant talaga for all the municipal solid waste, di ba? Because nga, I don't think the country is ready for it or that the support is there from, So we did it na lang na kami, work around. So we're doing that with certain companies now. Yun.
Okay. So you have
Kami
a lot.
Nestlé, gagawa kami ng biogas plant for you.
Wow.
Yes, we need more biogas actually. We need more biogas.
Okay.
At saka ang gaganda kasi may product yan, CO2, that you can also use for your products, right? So it's really a circular, we should really push for a circular economy.
Ma'am Shay, di ba Meralco is also into solar power? Isn't that, I don't know, if that is that a conflict to what Meralco is doing or is it complementary?
No, it's actually complementary. The thing about renewable energy lang is that the capacity is not that high. So from a demand perspective, we're still using coal. So we really need to have a transition plan, a journey. Kasi, di ba, when we talk about sustainability in terms of using coal, di ba? Kasi parang coal-based country ang Philippines eh. And a lot of investors are saying, we will withdraw from the Philippines. So Chris, our IR and I would always tell them that, you tick the box for environment, but you crossed out the social part because at the end of the day, the affordability of Filipinos, unfortunately, is only, for coal. You cannot expect 80% or 90% of the country to be able to afford solar panels in their roofs, right? So you take the environment but cross out the social, so that's equivalent to also discrimination against poor countries, di ba, and poor people. So hindi pwedeng ganun. Talagang dapat may transition plan. We have that for Meralco. They already have that sustainability program in place.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma'am Shay. I'm trying to look. Yeah. From Chris, what's your stand about Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 agenda? Ma'am Shay?
As naman kasi, as I presented earlier, we've already mapped our sustainability pillars and even our sustainability linked advocacies according to the UN SDGs eh. And that also holds true for the time frames that they have. Sa atin nga, sa MPIC, taking out Meralco kasi power, heavily talaga sila, very heavy sila on in the coal issue, di ba, in the affordability aspect. On the MPIC group, our ano nga is to get to net zero on an absolute contraction basis by 2040. That's a working plan pa, but we haven't really put that out publicly, but that's our internal discussion.
Miss Arlene, what's your stand about this? The
So
sustainable
the programs of Nestle globally, our headquarters and all markets, including Nestlé Philippines, are aligned with SDG. And when it comes to the Paris Agreement, we are part of the signatory. I already shared with you, but this very big slide on all the milestones. But just to make it very simple, we aim to achieve net zero by 2050. And going towards 2050, we have milestones to reach that goal. So we have it from our factories, from our packaging, from electricity in the headquarters. So all that are in place. But I'm not going to say we have all the solutions today, because if we did have the solution, then we would be net zero today, right? So this is really a process, and I have to say challenging and difficult process to really find partners who can help us attain these goals.
Thank you. Sir Crispia, what's your stand about this?
Yeah, again, it is a goal, a target that should be kept there, in my opinion. However, this is time for us as we are really severely hit by the pandemic. We know that the economic situation right now needs a time for recovery. No, so we it would have been. I strongly feel that we could have achieved those had we not been affected by the pandemic. You see, the slowdown of the economy affects consumption patterns also. So we were hoping that the continuous growth of GDP could have really improved the purchasing power of people so that the choices that they can afford to buy more sustainable goods and services in the market. Now, we may be stalled, but again, while there is a challenge in those goals, I think we should continue to try to reach it. No, but it has to be adjusted so that it becomes modest and achievable.
Thank you, Sir Chris. Okay, before I ask for your final statements, just a few more shout outs to Christine Joyce Cerezo, Abir Molsom, Marky Almazora of Sandari Patulaw, and Club Ananda. Rojan Klein Gonzaga, Mal Sandigo of PMCM Events Management, Maynard Moses, Carlos Ganapan, Maricel Davad, Danaya Zara Villa, Aidan Yusef Villa, Ed Malones of Eternal Gardens Park, Cagayan de Oro. Can I ask, yes, ano pa, may mahabol pa. More shoutouts. Christine Requinton Salvana, Sarina Blancaflor, happy birthday. Maribel Avelis, Noel Bautista of PRA, Chris Galit, Flor de Lisa de Jesus, Sugang, Larry Villanueva. Okay. For your closing remarks, can I ask from Miss Arlene first?
So thank you again for inviting me to represent Nestle to share what we do. We have this small window of opportunity to make brave new choices that will allow our country to grow economically within sound ecological boundaries. So I hope that more and more companies will join us to, again, this is not a competition. It's really working together, finding solutions and share the solutions so that we can really make our planet more livable. So thank you and looking forward to more sessions and more solutions that we can share with each other. Thanks.
Thank you, Miss Arlene. Ma'am Shay, your final message.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that sustainability again is a collective responsibility. We can only be able to achieve everything if we work together. And that sustainability is not just future proofing our businesses, but our existence as humanity, diba? So as a parent, we should do our best to leave our children with a much better world than what it is now.
Thank you. And Sir Crispian, in all your hats, what's your final message?
Yeah, in all my hats, again, the government cannot do it alone. Businesses cannot do it alone. It takes collaboration of all parties. No, businesses should get together. The government should start coming out with sound policies backed by science and facts. We can do this, no, but we need to do this together. And we look for and do reach out to us if you need more information. Forums like this are always a positive. We need to be educated, and again, we need to continue strive to set those goals and to meet those goals.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, our special guest, for being with us this morning. I'd like to thank our partners for today, and Metro Pacific Investments Corporation, Nestlé Philippines, Clean Fuel, PLDT Smart, NEC, and Okada. I'd like to thank our production team who's here, Ed, Briggs, and Sari, to our boss who spent his time with us, Boss Anton. And to hope you can join us again tomorrow, we have a session with Send It Philippines with the COO, Christian Reyes. Again, thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon. Good morning, po. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Bye.
Boss Anton, you want to say hi to them? Sige. Shy po yung boss
Okay.
natin.
Bye.
Thank you so much po.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, we keep in touch, Shea. And Arlene,
Yes.
we always talk.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to you. All right.
Thank you
Bye.
po.
Bye, Andrew. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you po.
Napansin mo ba, mas madalas ka nang magsabi ng stay safe kesa bye-bye. At aminin mo, nawili ka sa TikTok, hindi para mapasaya ang sarili, kundi para mapatawang iba. Napansin mo rin ba, na palagi na kayong kumpleto pag nagsisimba? At sino mag-aakala na ang daming maglalabasang internet celebrities ngayon? Ilang pagkain na bang na-order mo? Kahit di ka naman gutom, uhaw ka lang makatulong. At nakailang care emojis ka nang nasend mula ng ECQ. Pansin mo, iba na bigla ang go-to playlist mo. Alam mo rin bang mas maraming naglalabas ng pera ngayon? Kahit taghirap? Alam mo kung bakit? Kasi patuloy mang magbago ang mundo, isang bagay ang mananatili.
Malalampasan din natin to.
Hindi tayo mawawalan ng pag-asa. Kaya patuloy namin pinapanatiling pinakamabilis at pinakamalawak ang inyong network. So we can all be connected by hope.